Do you believe in Father Christmas? Well, here's a story that might change your mind. In his bedroom, 9-year-old Mason had a piece of old floorboard wood that he rested on his bedside cabinet, and using an old saw he cut the wood across 4 times, giving him 6 squares, and then with a rusty old hammer and salvaged nails he fixed the squares together, forming an enclosed box. He held it up to inspect it and thought to himself, a bird box needs an entrance hole. I should have put the hole in it before I put it together. But I don't have a drill. He went downstairs to the kitchen where his mum was preparing dinner. Mum, he said, do we have anything I can make a hole in this nesting box I'm making? Mum replied, what you need is a drill. And why would I have a drill? Can I buy one then, said Mason. With what? Replied Mum. Money, of course, Mason replied. And from where? Said Mum. I don't have a job. I have to pay rent and feed you and your sister. And Christmas is coming. I don't have enough to buy anything special. Now leave me alone to do your dinner. That evening his sister Rose went next door to their aunties, whilst Mum walked Mason to his weekly cub meeting. At the start of the evening, with all the cubs around the flagpole, Kayla announced, we shall be doing Christmas cards and letters to Santa. At the end of the hall was a table with card and colouring pencils all laid out. Mason, using his natural skill, neatly folded a piece of card. On the front he drew a snow-covered nesting box with a robin perched at the entrance. On the inside of the card, and with the help of the cub assistant, he wrote, Dear Santa, have a happy Christmas, and if you are passing my house, I would like a toolkit so I can make things with wood. At the end of the evening, Kayla displayed the cards for all to see. She held up Mason's card and said, this is a very skilled made card. Well done, Mason. I shall take all the cards and send them on to the North Pole. The week before the end of term, there was a parent evening, and Mason sat in the school hall waiting to be called. Mason sat in the school hall with his mum, waiting to be called. A lady called out, Claire Woolley and Mason Woolley. That is us, said Mum, taking Mason's hand and guiding him in the direction of the lady that called out. They followed her out of the hall, down a corridor, and were directed into a small room. The lady that showed them the small room indicated to go into the room and shut the door behind them. There was a lady already seated behind a desk. Sit down, Mrs. Woolley, she said abruptly. May I call you Claire? Yes, of course, said Claire. My name is Miss Catherine Cook, said the lady. You may call me Miss or Ma'am. Now, Mason, how are you? All right, he said shyly. The lady replied, now your schoolwork, your craft is excellent, but your English and mathematics are very poor. What do you think we can do about that? Let me use proper tools, replied Mason. The stern lady leaned forward, looking over her glasses. I don't mean your craft, I mean your other schoolwork. We do need you to be able to read, write and do arithmetic. Mum interrupted. You do know Mason has difficulty, don't you? and is diagnosed as dyslexic. The lady replied sternly, I'm an old-fashioned teacher, and it is my job to get the best from my charges. And if I think I can treat a child with special care, I will. But I will not make excuses for a lazy youngster. Mum stood up and guided Mason away from earshot. He's not lazy. He's got difficulties that you should be aware of. Before the teacher could reply, Mum took Mason's hand and led him away out of the school and away home. As soon as they were inside their home, Mason went to his room. He picked up his box and a penknife and started cutting out the hole. 2 days later, an envelope bearing the school crest was dropped through the door. Claire opened the envelope, taking out and unfolding the crisp paper to reveal a large printed note. It read, As you were unable to attend your appointment with Mason's form teacher, we will be obliged if you would attend an open evening tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. It went on to say, as it is near the end of term, it is important you should attend as we wish to make plans for the spring term. Claire, with aspirations in her voice, exclaimed, Well, we did go, but I would not be spoken to like that school ma'am did to us. I suppose if we do go, at least we can complain. So, as the note said, 6 p.m. the next day. At 6 p.m, saw Claire and Mason back in the hall. Then a lady called, Mrs. Woolley and Mason Woolley. Claire took Mason's hand and followed the lady into a close by classroom. How do you do, said the lady. I am Mary Bennett, Mason's form teacher. Please sit down, Mrs. Woolley. Now, I have Mason's report here, and it looks like he is doing quite well, considering. Claire interrupted the teacher by saying, We did come last time, but the lady we saw was very rude and did not seem to know Mason. Mary frowned and said, I don't have any record of you being here. Who did you see? Claire replied, I did not get her last name. Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, her name was Catherine Cook. She did ask us to call her Miss or Ma'am. The teacher frowned. Sorry, but we do not have anyone here called Catherine Cook. Unless she was a stand-in. That must have been it. Did you want to make a complaint? You can make a complaint, but let's deal with Mason's progress first, and I'll arrange for you to meet with the head. OK, said Claire. The teacher, reading from her notes, said Mason has made good progress with his English, but is still slow with reading and arithmetic. He is a little disruptive in class as he does not pay attention. He is fine when he's doing something practical. She turns toward Mason. So how shall we proceed, Mason? Mason, looking at the floor and hearing his name, looked up. Well, the teacher said with a friendly smile and a tilt of her head. Mason, well? He paused and took a breath. I don't understand what you want me to do with writing and sums. I like making things because I know what is needed, because I can see it in my head. The teacher replied, Well, Mason, we do need you to do English and sums, because one day you will be out working and need to read what is required of you. Sums will help you work out how much things cost. Perhaps when you're bigger, someone will buy you a set of tools. His mum interrupted. I don't know who, because I can't afford any. The teacher replied there will be a chance for him to do technology later when he is a bit older. Oh, there's the head now. I think we are done here, his teacher said. She then called to the head. Mr. Smith, Mrs. Woolley would like a word. What can I do for you, Mrs. Woolley? He said. Claire explained what had happened on her last visit. That is strange, Mrs. Woolley. We do not have a Catherine here, nor have we had any Tempsin. What does she look like? Claire thought for a while and said she had grey, permed hair, sort of in a bun. She was very neatly dressed with a black skirt, white blouse with a frill down the front. Oh, and a cameo brooch. She pointed to the top button of her blouse. The head thought for a moment, then turned to the teacher and said with a questioning tone, You have finished, haven't you? Yes, came the teacher's reply. Come with me to the office, Mrs. Woolley. They walked down the hall to an office. Do come in, he said. Now this lady, he paused. Does she look like that? He pointed to a hand-painted picture on the wall. Exactly, said Claire. That is her. Who is she? The head paused for a thought and then replied, She was a founder of this school. Claire replied musingly, She must have come back. The head replied, I don't think so, you see. That was over 150 years ago. There was a stunned silence for a while. Then Mason broke the silence. I want to go home, Mum. Yes, come on, she said, taking his hand. Ooh, this all sounds a little bit spooky, doesn't it? End of term and Christmas was only days away. From the loft, Mum found the old plastic tree and some decorations. She made one room look like Christmas. Around the tree she put boxes with Christmas wrapping to look like bits of present. Some had labels on. On the morning of Christmas Eve, Mum was preparing vegetables from the garden and Mason was in his bedroom still cutting the hole with a knife. Mum shouted up to Mason, I need to go to Auntie's next door to see if she is coming in tomorrow for dinner and ask her to bring a chair. Will you be okay for 10 minutes? Yes, he replied. He heard the sound of the front door open, then silence. A few minutes passed when he heard someone walking about downstairs. Is that you, Mum? He shouted. There was not a reply. Mason walked out of his room and looked down the stairs to see a white-haired man wearing half glasses and a smart suit walking out through the front door. He ran to his bedroom window to look out. He saw only his mum coming along the path. All right, love, she called. Yes, Mum, he called back, continuing to whittle the hole in the box. Christmas morning came and the house was filled with the smell of cooking. Auntie Margaret knocked the front door and Mason ran to open it. Morning, Auntie, he said. She gave him the chair she was carrying and proceeded into the living room, placing three small packets under the tree. She then went into the kitchen. Morning, Claire. Happy Christmas, sister. Happy Christmas, Mags, came the reply. Where is daughter Rose? Still in bed, Claire replied. Rose eventually got up and dinner was served and eaten. Time came to open presents. Mum sat by the tree and first handing Auntie all the packets that she had brought in. She handed them out, apologising that they were not much. After opening hers, Claire said, Thank you, Margaret. I needed a manicuring set. Me too, said Rose. What is it, said Mason. Rose, with a hint of sarcasm in her voice, It's for cleaning your nails, not that you ever do that. Then Mum gave out her present, saying that is all I can afford, but I think they will be useful. They all opened them together to reveal mobile phones. Auntie Margaret and Rose said, Thank you, but Mason could not hide disappointment. Margaret said, Has it got money on it? Yes, said Claire. £10 worth came free with the phone. So don't you two children use it all up. I bought them so you could keep me informed where you are, and I have one as well. I have put your numbers in each phone already. Rose stood up saying, sorry, I've not bought anything, but hope you will settle with a hug, even you, Mason. Giving him a long hug, then proceeding to Mum and Auntie. Mason stayed sitting, trying to hide his disappointment. When Mum said in a questioning voice, hold on, there's another box there. The label says to Mason, I am sorry. Have a happy Christmas. Use these well. A well-wisher. Mum, standing and leaning towards the parcel, tried to lift it, but it was too heavy. Mason's eyes lit up and moved over to help Mum. They placed the packet in the middle of the room and Mason ripped the paper open. Meanwhile, Mum showed the label to Aunt Margaret. Both shook their heads and said, not me. Mason revealed a large plastic box with a handle in the middle and 2 fastening clips to the lid. Both hands he unclipped the box and lifted the lid to reveal it filled full with carpenter tools, a saw, clamps, hammer, square, even a rechargeable drill and bits. He squealed with delight. Rose said out loud, who gave him that? I don't know, said Mum. I do, said Mason. Then all 3 ladies said loudly, who? Mason replied out loud, Father Christmas.